hum of the airplane engines filled the cabin. That steady, low vibration that usually comforts you once the seatbelt sign flicks off. Not this time. This time, it just set the stage for what felt like a social experiment in patience. I was halfway through my coffee when turbulence hit. A jolt, a splash, and just like that, I needed the bathroom. Not urgently at first, but you know how these things go. You wait too long, and suddenly, your bladder's staging a protest. The seatbelt light blinked off. I stood up, stretched a little, and made my way down the aisle toward the rear lavatory. That's when I heard it. That unmistakable nasal voice that could slice through jet noise. "Excuse me." I turned, and there she was. Karen. Mid-50s, pearl earrings, beige cardigan, holding her cup of tea like it was made of diamonds. She blocked the narrow aisle with a dramatic tilt of her shoulder. "The restroom is for first-class passengers only," she declared, like she was the captain of this Airbus. I blinked. "Ma'am, we're all on the same plane. It's open seating." Her eyes widened. The kind of look people give when you challenge their imaginary power. "No, it's not. People like you should use the one in the back." I froze. "People like me?" I repeated, half laughing, half stunned. The couple in row 7 glanced over. One man raised his eyebrows, sensing drama brewing. She huffed. "Coach passengers," she said finally, like she was saving herself from saying something worse. I could feel my jaw clench. "I'm actually seated right there," I said, pointing just a few rows behind her. "Same class as you." "Well then wait your turn," she snapped, and planted herself directly in front of the door, folding her arms like a sentry. The ridiculousness of it almost made me laugh. Almost. But the pressure in my bladder said otherwise. I tried reasoning once more, calm but firm. "Look, I'm not cutting anyone. I just need to go. It's a shared restroom." She leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. "You people always think the rules don't apply to you." That line hit different. Something in her tone, smug, entitled, made every passenger within earshot go still. Before I could respond, the flight attendant appeared, her expression already tight. "Is there a problem here?" Karen straightened, feigning innocence. "No problem, unless people keep trying to sneak into areas they don't belong." The attendant's eyes darted between us, sensing something ugly simmering beneath the surface. I stepped back slightly, giving her space to handle it, but the tension was palpable. Then, over the intercom, the pilot's voice broke through. Steady, calm, but with an unmistakable edge. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remember, all passengers are equal on this flight. Our restrooms are available to everyone." Karen froze. Her face turned the color of her oversteeped tea. The cabin fell silent, and every head turned toward her. And that was only the beginning. You could almost hear the collective smirk ripple through the cabin. The pilot's announcement had landed like a slap wrapped in politeness. Karen stood there, rigid, clutching her teacup, as if it might anchor her dignity. I stepped aside, giving her a chance to move. She didn't. She turned, red-faced, and hissed under her breath. "You must feel so proud of yourself." I raised an eyebrow. "Actually, I just feel like using the bathroom." The tension broke into a few muffled laughs from nearby seats. She noticed. Her lips tightened, her nostrils flared, and she pivoted sharply toward her seat. I slipped past her, finally stepping into the lavatory. When I came out a few minutes later, the air felt heavier, quieter. She was sitting ramrod straight, whispering furiously to the man beside her, a poor soul who looked like he wanted to vanish into the upholstery. I brushed it off, put in my earbuds, and tried to focus on my music. But 15 minutes later, I felt a tap on my shoulder. It was the same flight attendant from earlier, a calm, composed woman with a pinched smile that said, "Someone's been complaining again." "Sir," she began softly, "I just wanted to check. Did something happen between you and the lady in seat 8B? I sighed. "You mean the self-appointed bathroom warden?" The attendant's lips twitched. "I see. She's alleging that you were verbally aggressive." My jaw dropped. "Aggressive?" "She blocked the bathroom and told me I didn't belong there." The attendant nodded. "I figured. We've had a few run-ins with her before. Just stay calm, all right? We'll handle it." As she walked away, I noticed Karen glance back at me, a triumphant little smirk tugging at her lips, as if filing a complaint gave her a sense of victory. Fine, I thought. Let her feel powerful. Planes have a way of humbling people when they least expect it. A few minutes later, the seatbelt sign chimed on again. The plane shuddered slightly. Turbulence. The flight attendants strapped in. Karen, however, decided it was the perfect time to make her move. She unbuckled, stood up, and marched toward the first-class section, probably planning to use their bathroom out of spite. The attendant called out, "Ma'am, please return to your seat." Karen ignored her. The plane jolted again, harder this time. She stumbled, catching herself on a headrest. Someone snorted. A passenger muttered, "Calmer." And then the captain's voice returned over the intercom. Calm, but pointed. "Ma'am in the beige cardigan, please return to your seat immediately for your own safety." A wave of laughter rippled through the cabin. Karen froze mid-step, her neck stiff. She turned, her face crimson, scanning the rows as if daring anyone to meet her eyes. I didn't. I just looked out the window, hiding a smile. But deep down, I knew she wasn't done yet. People like her never are. The air inside the cabin was thick, part recycled oxygen, part unspoken tension. Karen sat stone still in her seat, but every so often I caught her stealing glances in my direction, the kind of stare that says, "This isn't over." The turbulence settled, and the captain announced we'd soon begin meal service. The attendants rolled the cart down the aisle, that familiar clink of soda cans and foil trays echoing like background music to the awkward silence. When the cart reached our row, the attendant smiled politely. "Chicken or pasta?" Before I could answer, Karen leaned over from the aisle. "Make sure he gets the leftovers," she said, loud enough for 3 rows to hear. The attendant froze mid-motion. "I'm sorry?" Karen smirked. "Well, he caused quite a scene earlier. People like him shouldn't get priority service." My grip tightened on the armrest. I turned to her slowly, forcing calm into my voice. "You really don't know when to stop, do you?" She blinked in fake innocence. "Excuse me. I'm just expressing concern for order and manners." The attendant gave me a look, the kind of look that said, "Don't engage." I took a deep breath and nodded, deciding to stay quiet. But the cabin wasn't quiet for long. The man sitting beside her, the one who had looked ready to disappear earlier, finally spoke. His voice shook slightly. "Karen, that's enough." She turned on him like a viper. "Excuse me? You've been picking fights all flight long. With him, with the crew, even with me. Maybe you're the problem." A small gasp came from a passenger across the aisle. The air seemed to freeze. Karen's jaw dropped. "You're defending him. You don't even know him," the man sighed. "I don't have to. I just know basic decency." Her voice rose, trembling with anger. "You don't talk to me like that. I'll have you both reported when we land." Heads turned. The murmurs started. A few passengers began whispering, phones subtly recording. Then, almost as if fate had cued it, the captain's voice came on again, calm but cutting through the noise. "Ladies and gentlemen, please remember, kindness costs nothing. Our crew is here to ensure everyone's comfort. Let's keep things civil." The entire cabin went silent. The message wasn't subtle, and every eye landed on Karen. She sank back into her seat, pale and trembling with embarrassment. The man beside her avoided eye contact, probably wondering what chaos he'd just stepped into. As the attendant quietly handed me my tray, she whispered, "You handled that perfectly." But I wasn't smiling. Something told me Karen wasn't going to let this flight end quietly. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, I saw her flag down another attendant, her voice sharp, accusing, whispering furiously while pointing in my direction. And when the flight attendant turned to glance at me, I knew. She had just made her final mistake. The hum of the engines deepened as we hit cruising altitude again. Meal trays clattered, whispers spread, and somewhere behind me, someone muttered, "Here we go again." Karen was in full performance mode now, gesturing wildly, voice sharp but hushed just enough to seem composed. The attendant beside her nodded politely, scribbling something on a notepad. I didn't need to hear the words to know what she was saying. Probably disrespectful passenger, aggressive tone, felt unsafe. The usual Karen script. Then, the attendant glanced toward me, apologetic but firm, and walked up the aisle. She stopped at my row. "Sir, the captain would like a quick word with you." "Please don't worry. It's just procedure." A few curious faces turned. My heart skipped. I stood, trying to stay calm. and followed her toward the front of the plane. When we reached the galley near the cockpit, she smiled. "Wait here." A moment later, the cockpit door cracked open and the captain himself stepped out, tall, calm, that professional authority written all over him. He extended a hand. "You must be the passenger Karen's been talking about." I sighed. "That bad, huh?" He chuckled lightly. "Let's just say she's made quite an impression." He gestured toward a jump seat. "Mind telling me your side?" So, I did. Briefly, clearly, and without emotion. From the bathroom blockade to the whisper war to her latest complaint. He listened, arms folded, nodding occasionally. When I finished, he exhaled. "That matches what our crew observed. Don't worry, you've done nothing wrong." Then a faint grin appeared. "Actually, I think it's time the entire cabin gets a little reminder." He stepped back into the cockpit, pressed the intercom, and spoke in that calm, captain's voice every passenger hears differently when they know it's about them. "Good afternoon, folks. This is your captain speaking. I'd like to thank everyone for remaining patient and respectful during our flight today. A quick note, all passengers deserve equal treatment. No one is above anyone else, regardless of seat, status, or personal opinion." A few snickers broke the silence. Heads turned toward Karen's row. The captain continued, "We appreciate kindness on board. It travels farther than attitude ever will." That line landed perfectly. When he signed off, a soft ripple of applause spread through the cabin. A few passengers even clapped louder than they needed to. The flight attendants exchanged small, knowing smiles. And there she was. Karen, frozen in her seat, eyes fixed straight ahead, pretending to be unaffected while her face burned a deep crimson. For the rest of the flight, she didn't utter a single word. No glares, no sighs, no passive-aggressive comments. Just silence. As we landed, passengers stood and began collecting their bags. I caught the eye of the man who had stood up for me earlier. He gave a faint nod, the kind that says, "Justice served." And just before I stepped off the plane, one of the flight attendants leaned toward me and whispered, "Pilot says thanks for your patience." I smiled, glancing back at row 8B where Karen sat pretending to be invisible. "Tell him," I said quietly. "He made my flight unforgettable." Don't forget to subscribe to Only Karen's for more dramatic stories. Which moment impressed you the most? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to hit that like button to show your support.